If Georgia has a bunch of first-team all-conference defenders in 2025, it's going to be in really good shape. This is going to be a defense that's just fine. I think it's interesting because, look, the media. We had SEC Media Days last week. We got to vote on projected order of finish. We got to vote on SEC Championship results. And we got to vote on the first, second, and third team all-conference preseason teams. Those have been released. I went into detail the other day about the ballots regarding the conference championship and the projected order of finish, but I want to dig into what the media voted on in terms of the all conference teams, the all SEC teams, offense, defense, and special teams. Because if Georgia's got the guys on these lists that have been projected to be on these lists, then I think it's going to be in pretty good shape. But especially when you look at the defense, when you look at the special teams, if Georgia's got that many first-team type of players, then this team's easily going to be in the SEC Championship. This team's easily going to be contending for a national championship towards the end of the season there. So let's look at these teams. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post asking you to go to dawgpost.com so you can look at this. You can look at everything that we're doing over there. Make sure you are checking out the site. But I've got up our story pulled up of the preseason all selections because we have it over there on dawgpost.com. So look at this. In terms of Georgia on offense, they've got Oscar Delp on second team. I did vote for him. Nate Frazier, someone I voted for as well. And then they've got Ernest Green. So offensively, three guys making those teams. No one making the first team offense. Now, this is a conference that is stacked with offensive firepower, all right? Lenore Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier probably will be competing there for that first team quarterback. But running back wise, Nate Frazier's getting a lot of buzz. What's his competition? He's got Quintravion Weisner from Texas. He's got Le'Veon Moss from Texas A&M. Jaden Ott from Oklahoma. LSU's Caden Durham. J.M. Miller from Alabama. This is a conference that's got a lot of good running backs. I think Nate Frazier's definitely in the mix to make one of these teams. Tight end, Oscar Delp may not make one of these. Why? If Lawson Lucky is the best receiving tight end for Georgia, then he may end up being one of the players that makes these teams. Last year's production wouldn't bode well for any Georgia tight end to make the list. No Georgia wide receivers made this list. A lot of really good wide receivers in the conference. Eric Singleton, from Auburn, Cam Coleman from Auburn. LSU's got a trio of receivers. Texas has got a couple of receivers. Obviously, Ryan Williams from Alabama. Zachariah Branch, Dylan Bell. Those would be the two that I would think about as, hey, those guys might make this list. Let's just go ahead and start talking about defense, though. Christian Miller, C.J. Allen, K.J. Bolden, and Dalen Everett all projected to be first-team defenders. 4 first-team defenders. None on the second and the third team. But if you just think about this in general, if you've got a defensive lineman, a linebacker, and 2 defensive backs, and the 3 levels on the defense, that's 1 player from each, and that's 2 in the secondary. I think KJ Bolden and Dalen Everett are both first-team guys. I think CJ Allen's a first-team guy. I think his running mate, Raylan Wilson, going to be surprised if he doesn't end up on one of these lists as well. That just kind of goes to show it. Defensive line-wise, I think Jordan Hall has an opportunity. I think edge rusher-wise, Ella Mendoza from Army, Gabe Harris. I think that Georgia can have more than just these 4 on the list, whether they're first, second, or third team. I think Georgia does have that type of defensive talent, which is interesting, right? Because, and I'll pull myself back up on the screen for a couple minutes. It's interesting because people don't know much about this Georgia defense. They know Jalen Walker, Chaz Chambliss, Michael Williams, and several others left for the NFL. They left all that production. They took it with them. There's a lot to replace on this defense, specifically in the front 7. But they've got 4 and 5 stars littered everywhere, and I think that you're going to see them play really, really well. I'd be surprised if those 4 players who are on this don't actually make the real lists, whether it's first, second, or third team. I would be surprised. I know there's a ton of talent in the SEC. I know there's a ton of talent in the trenches in the SEC. Georgia's going to have these types of players, and I think that this is just the beginning, those 4. They have 3 transfer safeties they brought in. They've got that, and I think one of them is going to end up being really good. This is a defense that will be decorated just as it has the last few seasons. I don't think that changes. Something that I do think is an interesting wrinkle in all of this, and if you go and you look in the comment section of Dawg Post, I'll show it real quick. Dean says he's never seen that before, and that is this right here that I've got highlighted on the screen for you right there. That's the first team special teams unit that got voted for. Every single player plays for Georgia on that list. They've got Brett Thorson on there for punter. They've got Peyton Woodring on there twice, both as the place kicker and the kickoff specialist. They've got Bo Gardner on there as the long snapper. They've got Zachariah Branch on there twice as both the return specialist and the all-purpose player. If this comes to fruition, what you're looking at on the screen right there, if that becomes a reality, then we're talking about Georgia having an even better season than I think people realize. Now, if you do remember, Georgia is projected to finish second in the SEC by the media. Georgia is the second best odds if you ask Vegas, and that's only behind Texas. So it's not like we're talking about Georgia's being doubted like they're not even going to be in the conference championship. But if this actually becomes true, they have the best punter, the best kicker, they've got the best return man, they've got the best all-purpose player. If all that's true, then this is a Georgia team that's going to be causing serious problems for people on the defensive side of the ball and on the special team sides of things. This, to me, would be a really, really big accomplishment. And they've got the players to do it. Look, Peyton Woodring is experienced. And this is a guy that only missed 2 kicks the entire year last year. He missed 2 kicks. I believe he went 69 for 71 in total kicks between his extra points and his kickoffs. Brett Thorson's been around since the 2022 season, and he's been kicking 70-yard punts ever since then. Zachariah Branch is a very, very talented special teams player. He's one of the best return men in the country. The Georgia fans who are not familiar, the SEC fans who are not familiar, he did it at a pretty high level out west, out at USC, and then he showed it off a little bit at G-Day. Zachariah Branch took a punt, and I think he would have scored if Kirby Smart didn't blow the whistle dead. I think he just didn't want to deal with a special teams touchdown. He just wanted Georgia to have an offensive drive. That's my guess. There was never a true explanation for that, but he took a punt, returned it inside his own 5, and he was going to score if Kirby Smart doesn't blow the whistle dead after he weaved around the entire Georgia kickoff unit. This is a team that it's different because some of this talent is transferred in, right? Like Zachariah Branch, and some of it is not the flashy names like the Bowers and the McConkeys, and even guys like Javon Bullard and Kamar Lassiter. They were just more household names. It feels like this Georgia team doesn't have like the star level names out there that people are extremely familiar with. To me, that's a little bit different than what Georgia has had in the past, right? Jalen Walker was a household name. Michael Williams was a household name. People knew they were going to be future first-round picks. People are talking about Christian Miller, right? But it's not the same thing. It's not this bona fide first-round pick. I think that with Dalen Everett, people don't talk about him with the respect that he deserves. From an offensive standpoint, you see it. People think Georgia doesn't have a lot of offensive star power. They don't think Gunnar Stockton's one of the 3 best quarterbacks. They don't think the receivers are as good as some of these other guys, and the offensive line, it shows on the list. They will have a good offense with good players, and that's going to be coupled with good special teams and good defenses. And it goes to show you, it's a complete team that has a little bit of everything everywhere. And I think that they're going to have all SEC caliber players across the board. They're going to have All-American. Some of these guys are going to be All-American type of players that are going to compete for those national awards, like C.J. Allen, potentially KJ Bolden. Maybe Nate Frazier does have an electric year. But this Georgia team, littered with players that are going to have all-conference honors. I think that the media had an interesting job. The most interesting part of it is that special teams unit, all of it being Georgia. But I think from a defensive standpoint, you got to look at that and say, if they've got 4 or 5 first-team all-conference defenders, why would they not be in the SEC championship? That'd be my logic right there. Links down below. Make sure you're checking that out, and I appreciate you watching. Make sure you're going to dogpost.com. It's the most important place to be this time of year.